So last week we talked about this new standard behind us: compare unit fractions and specify the whole by reasoning about size, and went through our deconstructed. And then Melissa found that we didn't need to do a lesson, and so we started with this one right here, the compare two fractions with the same numerator or the same denominator. And then we also wanted the students, and then we said, well, that was easy enough. And then we wanted the students to record the results of comparisons with the symbols greater than or less than. So our pre-assessment was based on those two mini sub-goal standards, comparing the two fractions and recording the results using a foursquare, actually, in the application of a foursquare. So are we ready to look at the results?
Sure.
Okay. So
we have a total of 32, and 32 is 64 kids. So you have 25 out of 64 at proficient.
39.
39%. And you have 8 and 5 is 13 out of 64 at close.
20%.
Okay. And then we have 26.
64.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
41%.
Thank you. That's your pre-assessment.
Melissa,
I was just going to say, for a pre-assessment after a week, it's not looking too bad.
no, that was in less than a week.
Yeah.
That was less than a week. So let's go ahead and talk about what we saw on the assessment and I think we all launched the first round of instruction the same. So the problem was, after his football game, Miguel drank 1/2 liter of water and 1/3 liter of juice. Did Miguel drink more water or juice? Draw and estimate partition. And then we just said that was it. So it didn't have too many scalpels in it already. So Melissa, do you want to start us off with strengths or
Sure,
trends
and,
for
yeah,
anybody?
I just realized that my 2 exemplars are on my golden clipboard, so I don't have them with me. But, so something that a few kids struggled with was the numeric symbolic part of it. They were trying to connect to previous learning, and so they were trying to make a whole. So I had a few kids that said a half plus a third. They were trying to combine it in one whole, even though they're comparing 2 different ones. So I had a small group of kids that did that. One thing that I'm trying to push the kids to, even the kids that got it right, some of them are saying Miguel drank more water than juice, and that's it. And in the past, we would have accepted that as like the complete sentence, but I'm trying to get them now to explain it and justify, not just hear where they're talking about the steps and how they solved it, but I want more information.
Okay.
So you each actually shared something that was an error or a misconception. Were there some strengths that you noticed that you wanted to build off of?
I noticed this type of question was similar to our last post-assessment, like the short little unit post-assessment, and the kids really struggled with, if we asked them to show a third in a whole, they just drew a line and filled it. They didn't justify by drawing the actual, they didn't partition it to prove it. And all of them,
I have
except
to agree
2,
with that.
partitioned and labeled the unit fractions to justify and prove that. So
They
yeah,
finally
that was-
know which one goes with, when you use a number line, when you use an area model, they now have that distinguished. That's awesome, yeah, I agree with that. So can we look at our 4 papers, your exemplars, just to see if we all agreed on the same scoring?
Do you want me to go grab the 2?
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to make sure that my exemplar is the same as your exemplar, even though we have the same scoring guide. So that we can use it as an anchor to show the kids that this is what we're expecting.
Yeah.
Even though there are still some errors.
Yeah.
Just your exemplar as to that point.
Whoops. This is not an exemplar for handwriting.
That's
But it
has everything.
And mine's for handwriting, that's all he has. Okay, so this is yours.
Yeah.
And Lori, do you have yours? So can we agree on one that we can show the kids that this is what we're expecting in a Foursquare, even though we know we still have to intervene on some parts? So let's look first at the visual representation.
Yeah, mine was really simple. It just was the basics. He didn't use a number bond, which I've been telling the kids they could use one if it makes sense with the story problem. If not, so
Are you looking for, you're looking for an exemplar for the comparing fractions,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
So one of the things that I heard you say yesterday is that those students that actually were making number bonds were often the ones that were moving over to adding. So I'm wondering if in this instance, a
confused
number
them.
bond confuses the needs, so
I would agree.
we might want to take that out in an example.
So now that we know what our kids did, and it sounds like we all had the similar results. When we first met last week, this was kind of the first lesson out of Engage New York. Just getting them to identify the symbols of greater than or less than, and then plugging them into a frame. And they did pretty well. And then we did it again yesterday. So that one, did everyone do that one?
It's basically kind of the same, but it was an activity that we could play with and use, so they could turn it both ways. And they could see that, you know, that the greater than, less than flips. I also had the generalization here, which I'm now going to have to change.
Well, no, you want to leave it up
Well, I'll
with
leave
this
it,
type
yes.
of problem, and then now you can do another one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so that was the one that
I do like the little
they
wheel.
liked that. Yeah, they had fun with
That's
that.
fun. Okay, and then Melissa, I think did you do yours similar to mine or something different?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And then we actually took their work, and I didn't actually get to anchoring it onto a public record yesterday, like you did with your class, and I think you did it with yours, because my kids were, because of that symbol, they were still adding, and so I actually had to go back and do my favorite no with them, which you saw, Jennifer. And pretty much what I did was I corrected the mistake of what they were making. So the first my favorite no is when you are comparing wholes, water or juice, you do not use the addition symbol. You use the greater than or less than symbol. And then they stood up and they had to compare their size, who was taller and who was smaller, just so that it could be more concrete for them. And then I did another one where it actually corrected the example of what I wanted.
One of the key things that I saw you do, which I think was critical in this My Favorite No, is when you have the kids standing up there to do comparing, you actually took that back to the vocabulary in the problem. Did it ask you to all together? Am I asking
here.
you how many students are up here? Exactly.
your keyword.
And she circled that, and so they got to not only the comparison of, we're not putting these two children together, we're comparing, and let's go back to the language we know about, what language we should see if we are adding or subtracting, and what language is here. So
This is the key inclusions, and so something we're seeing is that they can say they can state the generalization, but are they answering the question? And the question is, who did he drink more water or juice? So somehow teach that last piece of go back into the question and turn it into an answer.
Right.
Do you guys agree with them?
Absolutely. Yeah,
I would
so
also-
highlight the question, rephrase it.
go back and answer the question, but then also in your exemplar, what you were selecting is not just the student who's kind of rotely following the sample frame that you put in there with first, next, then finally, but actually went back and made a statement, not just I did this, I did this,
Yes.
I did this, but actually made a justification statement,
Exactly.
which is in addition to the answering the question. So I know that Miguel drank more juice than water because 1/2 is greater than 1/3.
Exactly.
So we need to add another little arrow to our rubric and put
Okay.
that at the end, your answer in a complete sentence with justification.
So before we do this, so this is our next step?
Yeah.
And we're all gonna work on this, justifying? So on the 4 square, that's the only square that we really need to zoom in on, okay? And then you're saying to add here what?
She said in a
Answer with
complete sentence.
justification.
She said in a complete
Yes.
sentence,
So answer,
answer the question with justification.
Answer.
they know it needs to be in a complete sentence, just because we've drilled that. So for the sake of trying to fit it all on the arrow. Or the
So,
star.
And
what would we, so Jennifer, what did you say? So let's agree on some kind of answer statement that we,
So we would say Miguel, or I know Miguel drank.
are we ready to start a new frame? I know.
Sure.
Okay, I think that would be good. I know that, okay,
Blank,
blank.
and that would be
Oh,
where
we're
you
doing
answer the
general then.
question.
Okay.
This is so that we all answer it in the same way.
Yep.
Okay, so I know that,
Blank and then because, and then we just write justify after that, so they know that.
okay, and so an example of this would be, I know that Miguel drank more
Water than juice.
more water than juice because
1/2 is greater than 1/3.
to
Well,
actually
and I was
link it
even
back up.
expecting more like, you know, if you have,
So
you don't want
you're
it too wordy, but if you have 2 holes, one divided in half and one divided into 3 pieces, if you're
Oh,
how could you-
explaining how it was
explain
partitioned.
like you always say, why is that true? Just saying that one is
Exactly.
bigger than the other isn't really explaining.
okay,
So I'm
why-
hearing a couple of different things here as you're talking about this. One of those, you're getting into the procedure of how I knew that 1/2 is greater than 1/3. That seems to be something that your kids are doing just fine with here. I partitioned this, I shaded this, I partitioned this.
It's the
So
end.
what we're getting at is that end statement, so
one. No, yeah, I
I
get
know that, so are you still feeling, even if they laid out in their steps exactly what they did to show that 1/2 is greater than 1/3, you'd like that again in the final statement?
okay, here's what we're expecting, okay, so this is important. All right, nicely.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Finally, and I know that 4th grade also would like more detailed answers. This will be great. Finally, I know that Miguel drank more water than juice because 1/2 is that where this is where we need to agree. 1/2 is greater than 1/3
1/2 cup of water is
Okay.
greater than,
because 1/2
Liter,
or liter, yeah,
Let's
sorry.
1/2 liter.
yes, that's what
Yes,
was
it
in
was
your
liter,
problem.
yeah, sorry.
1/2 liter
Of water.
of water is greater than, what's the other one?
1/3 liter of juice.
1/3 liter of juice. Okay, and then Melissa, generalization. How do you want to add that in?
The way I was saying it was too wordy. I mean, we could just copy the generalization that we all have in the room, or we could say, I know this because the more parts you divide a whole into, the smaller the pieces get.
So, okay, so I know that the more parts you divide,
We could use the word partition depending on what we want them to use.
this is a frame, so
They can choose.
I'll put divide partition.
Yeah.
Okay. More parts you divide partition,
A
a
whole.
whole. Look at all this great writing. We're going to be writing a lot. A whole, the smaller. The more parts you divide partition a whole into, the smaller the.
I think you should put, when you put the smaller the individual pieces, because otherwise you're going to run into the same problem
The
that Lori was
smaller-
talking about.
The individual and Jennifer tell me how to
unit.
spell this. Pie.
P-I-E, pie, just like pieces of
Pieces.
pie.
Remember that.
I say Pisces.
Units.
Individual Pisces get.
The individual pieces, units, / units. Lori's bringing that math
sorry.
vocabulary into
No,
there.
that's okay.
No, that's perfect.
This
We
is
need to be
we
sticking
can
to the
add. This is
expected
just
language.
a draft. Okay, so I'm gonna underline the actual frame in here,
Okay,
and then you guys will know that that's where. I know that this is the blank because, and then this is their justification right here. I know that
that part becomes the generalization.
right here. And
So do you have
then
maybe a black marker to underline the sentence frame itself?
I think just, yeah, and then going back to when we compare fractions and then going back to our frames. Pretty much we're taking that and sucking it into this. So we can agree on 4 square tasks. Do you want to flag them you want to pull out your curriculum? So I guess I'm looking at timeline again. By when would we want to meet again? Right after grading day? March 8th? No,
March 8th is a Saturday.
sorry.
Are
9th,
you coming in on
10th,
Saturday?
11th. We do. March 12th would be our next one.
So yeah, I guess that's when we bring it.
That seems too far.
It does.
No, that's too far out.
You have one
Grading
more
day
week
is
before
Saturday.
grading day. Grading day is next Friday. You are
Next
in that
Wednesday?
blackout
So we
window,
could just
so
meet
it's your
quickly.
decision.
Yeah.
We'll just do next Wednesday.
Okay.
So let's plan enough 4 squares for next Wednesday. So I'm gonna put next, so we would give this by Monday? Monday,
So we
Lori?
can have it by Wednesday.
Monday?
Yes. Oh, yeah. You'll have it by the end of the day today.
This one?
No, just the
Oh,
draft.
got it.
The copy.
Thank you.
So that gives us, what day is it today?
Yeah, I won't give
Wednesday,
it,
Thursday, Friday, 2 days. Can we teach that in
To
2
teach
days?
that and then give the post on Monday.
Uh-huh. Or do we
Oh,
move
well,
it to
I'm already
Tuesday?
planned out for today, so I would have.
Let's move this to Tuesday.
Okay.
So it gives us 3 days of instruction. That's good. Come back and,
Do you remember what your current total percent was at 39 at proficient, so moving another 50% puts you at 89%. That's huge
That is.
percentage, so
89%?
it would be 89% if you meet this goal, because you're
That would be
already
our
at
biggest goal.
39.
It would be.
We've only hit 75.
You started out with a really good sizable chunk, though, with the 39% because of
Ready?
your past
think we can
instruction
do it.
got them
Yeah,
here.
we can do it.
I'm gonna